I briefly question from here, Your Honor.
You may.
Mr. Nabolsi, do you recognize the 8.5 by 11 sheet that I've given you?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And is it fair to say that that has the diagram that's been previously marked H for identification, that is the chalk floor plan of cure, but with now exhibits number 38 and 39 superimposed to show the angles of the photographs. Is that fair to say?
Correct, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, at this time, if I could have that sheet marked, I believe it's I for identification as well as its larger cousin.
You may.
The I-1 sheet. I-2.
Mr. Nabolsi, I've handed you 5 pictures, and if you wouldn't mind, could you just take a look at those and indicate whether you recognize what's shown in those pictures?
Correct, sir. I do.
And is it fair to say that those 5 photographs show various locations within the club, all shot by and large from the perspective, or 4 of the 5 shot by and large from the perspective of the landing of the stairs as you enter the club? Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
All right, and one shows the stairwell leading down to the landing. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Another one shows what is the left side of the club if you were to be facing the main bar.
Correct, sir.
The third one shows the main bar on the left side, but then a portion of the right side of the club if you were standing on the landing.
Correct, sir.
And the fourth one shows a further picture of the right side of the bar if you were standing from the landing.
Correct, sir.
And lastly, another picture, but this time of the landing itself, shot from the perspective of one's back to the bar.
Correct, sir.
Now, with the same conditions that we talked about yesterday, that is, with minor changes in the decor, do those, with the exception of those changes, do those 5 photographs fairly and accurately show the view of Club Cure from the landing of the stairs looking in, and one photograph from the bar looking back out to the landing?
Correct, sir.
Your Honor, if I could have those marked as the next 5 exhibits.
Any objection? Without objection.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's receive them in the order in which they were identified. Exhibits 40 through 44.
So much.
Showing you what's been received as exhibit number 40. Do you recognize that?
Correct, sir.
And that's the photograph of the stairs leading down into the
The
landing.
landing of, correct, sir.
Showing you now what's been received as exhibit number 41. That's the left side of the bar or the lounge from the perspective of the landing of the stairs. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Showing you exhibit number 42. That is a photograph of the bar from the landing of the stairs.
Correct,
Is
sir.
that correct?
Correct.
Exhibit number 43. The right-hand portion of the club taken from the perspective of the landing of the stairs. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
And lastly, exhibit number 44, looking back at the landing from the perspective of the bar.
Correct, sir.
Now, Mr. Nabulsi, since 2012, and more specifically since July of 2012, have there been any changes to the lighting inside of the Cure Lounge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and can you tell the members of the jury what aspects of the lighting in the lounge has changed from July of 2012 to today?
Correct, sir. We had carpet throughout the whole entire place, from the front to the back. The couches are now reupholstered. They were cloth, and the lighting itself now, all we had added is the LED walls. I'm sorry, the LED wall that is on the ceiling right there, and the wall behind the DJ booth, or the main bar.
Let's talk about the LED wall behind the DJ booth. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct, sir.
Okay, and that, what you call an LED wall, was not present in 2012, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, and is now present in the club?
Yes, sir.
And then what did you mention about LED wall lighting?
We also have an LED wall ceiling that is right there. And no.
No, on the ceiling?
On the ceiling itself, on top. Correct, sir.
Okay. And those items that I've underlined using the telestrator were not there in 2012, is that correct?
I'm sorry, the wall that I'm talking about is right on top. So that whole black space that is on top?
Here?
Correct, sir.
Are you talking about lights on the ceiling?
Lights on the ceiling.
Okay. Are those the lights that strobe or change colors?
It just changed colors with the name, with the perspective of the name.
Okay. And that lighting was not there in 2012?
In 2012, no, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Can I approach the witness, Your Honor? Showing you that, Mr. Nabulsi, do you recognize what's shown on that piece of paper?
Correct, sir.
And again, is it fair to say that that is yet again a floor plan of Club Cure, along with the 5 photographs that were just admitted, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, arranged around the floor plan to indicate the perspective of where they were taken from?
Correct, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, if I could have this marked as J, and J1 and J2 for identification.
It may.
And Mr. Nabulsi, showing you the photograph that I've circled, that's been marked exhibit number 43. That shows a satellite bar.
Correct, sir.
And in 2012, that satellite bar, or at least that structure, was still there. It was, though, a DJ
A DJ booth,
and has
correct,
since
sir.
been repurposed as a bar.
Correct, sir.
Mr. Nabulsi, in addition to your responsibilities as a manager at Cure, did you also have an additional responsibility with respect to Cure's surveillance or security system?
Correct, sir. Yes.
And how long have you been responsible for the club's security system?
Ever since 2010.
2010. Can you tell us what the club security system consists of?
Correct. So it's consisting of a DVR, and each DVR has a capability of having 16 cameras on each DVR. In 2010, we had purchased 2 DVRs to be installed. We opened under a new name, which is Cure Lounge, in November 2010. For a small soft opening for a party, and the majority of the cameras were not up and operational at that time.
Well, let me just stop you right there. So you said the security system consisted of a DVR.
Correct, sir.
In 2012, and more specifically in July 2012, how many DVRs did Cure have operating as part of its security system?
2, sir.
Okay. In addition to 2 DVRs, was there other equipment involved in the security system?
No, sir. There was just a screen that would just...
So when I say equipment, I mean anything.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. So you have 2 DVRs in July 2012. Any other equipment?
No, sir.
Okay. What about monitors?
Monitors, yes.
Okay. I'm considering that equipment. So how many monitors did you have?
2 monitors.
2 monitors. And did you have cameras?
Yes, sir.
How many cameras did you have?
We had 32 cameras, 16 on each DVR.
So each DVR could support a maximum of 16 cameras?
Of 16 cameras, correct.
All right. And as part of your responsibilities for the club's security system, did you actually obtain, in other words, purchase all that equipment?
Correct, through the company. Correct.
Through the company. And the cameras, who placed the cameras in the various places within the club?
I did, sir.
All right. And were there cameras that you placed outside, that is, cameras to show the street and the sidewalks around Cure Lounge?
Correct, sir.
All right. And there were a number of cameras placed inside the lounge, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Now, all this equipment that you just described for us, 2 DVRs, 2 monitors, where were those kept, or where were those housed?
They will be inside the office, sir, in a little den of the office.
Little den of the, sort of like a business office?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Where is that located in Cure?
It's located towards the back room on the right-hand side, sir.
All right. Do you see what's been marked as J for identification in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Do you see the room that housed the monitors and the DVRs on the floor plan?
Correct, sir.
Could you take your finger, just go on the screen and draw a circle around it? Okay. For the record, Your Honor, indicating an enclosed office in the far right side of the floor plan, directly under the icon for cure on J for identification. And that's where you kept the DVRs and the monitors.
Correct, sir.
And the DVRs were kept in a small room on the left,
Correct, sir.
and the monitors were mounted on the wall.
Right inside the office, correct.
Now, the monitors, strike that. When you looked at the monitors, let's take one at a time, one monitor. What would you see on a monitor when you looked at the monitor if all the cameras and the DVRs and the cameras were functioning?
There's 16 channels. You can view them right on the screen.
You can view all 16,
All 16
camera
channels.
views at one time?
Correct, sir.
And how were they arranged on the screen?
It was in a group of lines of 4.
Lines of 4. So 4 rows of 4 cameras.
4 rows of 4 cameras, correct.
And could you choose, was it up to the operator to choose what camera would show up under what screen? In other words, the way you hook the cameras up?
Correct.
Okay, you could pick the ports in the DVR and align the cameras the way you want to.
Correct, sir.
Okay. Now, with respect to how did you arrange the cameras, or how did you hook the cameras up as they were in operation in 2012?
Correct. So I took each DVR and I had a placement throughout the whole entire place. So I wanted to see a person that gets on the sidewalk and gets through our door and goes down the stairs, goes inside the main room, and proceeds to the back of the house.
Okay.
I started off with the 16 cameras first to go from the front to inside.
Okay, working from the outside in.
From the outside in.
All right. And you had external cameras, and all those went on one DVR?
One DVR, correct,
All right.
sir.
And on that one DVR, how many external cameras did you have mounted on it, if you can recall?
About 8.
Okay. And when you say 8, did you have cameras mounted in just inside the front door to the entrance to the club?
Correct, sir. Yes.
Just to clarify, when you say 8 outside cameras, would they include those 2 in the lobby? as
Correct,
you
sir.
just-
Yes.
So 6 outside and 2 inside?
6 outside and 2 inside.
Well, there's a third camera inside, which is the ID scanner. Is that
the
correct?
ID cameras, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, so there are 3 cameras in the immediate lobby,
Yes,
which you are now calling external cameras, even though
The
they
external
weren't
cameras.
exactly outside.
correct.
And then that would make 5
5
outside
outside
cameras,
and then the 3 inside the lobby.
for a total of 8.
8.
And if that DVR could handle 16 cameras, that means did you have an additional 8 cameras connected to that DVR?
Correct.
And where were those cameras mounted?
So there's another mount when you go down the stairs, viewing the stairs going up. There's a camera on top of the coat check, facing that hallway that is in the back where the bathrooms are. And there's another camera that should be going, as soon as you go down the landing, it will face towards the main room.
Okay, you don't have to tell us where every single camera was, but it would be fair to say that the remaining 8 cameras were all interior cameras,
Interior cameras.
all below ground, inside the club itself?
Correct.
Okay. So, for purposes of our discussion, let's call that DVR, the one that has the 8 outside cameras and the 8 inside cameras, let's just call that the external DVR.
External DVR, correct, sir.
Now, On the other DVR, the second DVR that you had.
Correct.
Did you also have 16 cameras attached to that?
Yes, sir.
All right, and of all those 16 cameras, were all of those cameras inside of Club Cure?
Yes, sir.
All right, so all 16 of those were mounted somewhere inside the club?
Correct.
All right, so for purposes of this discussion, let's call that the internal DVR.
Internal DVR.
All right. Could you, or did your surveillance system permit you to watch live footage? That is, as it was happening?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And so when the cameras were in operation, is the monitor the way you would watch all the different footage?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
All 16 channels.
16 channels on each monitor, you could watch whatever was going on at the time.
Correct, sir.
And as the name sort of suggests, did the DVRs have the ability or capability to record footage?
To record footage, correct, sir.
All right. And the footage was recorded when? Was it a constant recording?
It's a constant recording, correct.
And how much space did the DVR have to record?
It's each DVR was about 1 terabyte, which was about 1,000 megabytes.
All right. Can you translate that in terms of time
Time, I'm sorry.
for the TiVo owners?
So it really all depends on the quality of each camera that was recorded. So there's best, medium, low, and moderate. On that option when you set up the DVR. Sorry, I got lost a little bit. The DVR, when you set it up, it just all depends. So it will go from anywhere between 7 days to 14 days to 15 days.
Okay. And is it like
So,
most DVRs?
so approximately from
record-
8 to 15 days.
As most DVRs, if you're recording on higher quality, you get
Correct.
less time.
You get less time.
Lower quality, more time.
Correct, sir.
All right. And then let's use the higher quality for an example. If you were recording at the highest quality and 7 days was your allowed storage space.
Correct.
After 7 days, what starts to happen?
It starts overwriting itself
All right. So starting with the oldest footage,
with the oldest footage to the new footage.
and it just records over the
It's-
oldest footage going to the newest footage.
Correct, it's just a loop.
Okay. So that system that you had in place served two functions. You could watch live footage, and you could also take recorded footage. And let's talk about the taking of recorded footage. If you wanted to take recorded footage from the DVR and either download it or back it up, how would you do that?
So it's typically it's just it's a exercise. It's a USB that came with the manufacturer, the machine itself. It's the only one that actually could be plugged in the back of the DVR. Then you hit so as soon as you put it in, you hit search, and the search method is pretty much you can choose the date and the time, and you do 2 clicks on it, and then you hit either view to view it, or you can hit backup to backup.
All right. And once you did that, it would load onto the thumb drive?
On the thumb drive, correct.
And back in 2012, when you were doing that exercise, that is backing up video.
Correct.
What was your practice at the time with the thumb drive?
So you would put the cameras that you wanted, and you would back it up onto the USB, and then once that backs up, it says back up, and then when it's successfully done, it will beep and it will tell you that it's done. Then you can take out the USB, go on the desktop that is inside the office, and drop everything on the desktop and create a file.
So there was a desktop computer inside the office?
Correct.
And you would take the USB, put it into the desktop,
Put it in the
and then
desktop.
dump the files onto
And
the
then dump the
desktop?
DOS file. And then empty out that USB and then do the exercise again for the rest of the cameras.
And is that the way that was your practice? If you were ever asked to back up video, that is what you would do?
Correct.
Mr. DeBolsi, I want to direct your attention now more specifically to July of 2012. For the first couple of weeks of that month, were you out of the country?
Correct, sir.
And when did you return to the country?
I returned Monday night. That would be July 16th.
Of 2012?
Of 2012, correct, sir.
And when you returned from out of the country on that Monday night, did you have a conversation with anybody in connection with Club Cure?
Correct. So one of the managers picked me up and drove me home. And during that session, he said that I left a note inside the office. It was requested by the Boston police for you to back up the tape so they can pick it up.
All right. And the individual who gave you this message was whom?
Sharif Hashim.
For the record, S-H-E-R-I-F, last name H-A-S-H-E-M. And Mr. Hashim was somebody that you worked with at Cure at the time?
Correct, sir. Correct. He was overhead of security and one of our managers.
Okay. So you get home Monday night, you have a conversation with Mr. Hashim, and then do you go into work the next day?
Correct. I go the next day.
And when you went into work the next day, how did you know what cameras to back up?
So there was a note that was left on the desk. So when I got there, I took that and I took the USB and I plugged it into the DVR, and it was pretty much all of the outside cameras that we had.
Okay. And so you were backing up video from the external DVR.
Correct.
And the 8 cameras that we talked about earlier, the 5 cameras that were actually outside.
Correct, sir.
And the 3 cameras that were in the lobby at the top of the stairs.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
And you copied that onto a thumb drive, and then you put those files
On the desktop.
on the desktop of the computer.
Yes, sir.
Any question on the show?
Please.
Showing you that item, Mr. DeBolsi, do you recognize that?
Correct, sir.
And what do you recognize that as?
It's the outside cameras.
Okay. And just for purposes, our purposes, is there a diagram of CURE with the outside cameras numbered,
Correct, sir.
as well as views from all of the outside cameras? When I say outside, I mean the 5 cameras that are actually outside.
Correct, sir.
And does that diagram fairly and accurately show the locations of the 5 outside cameras as you place them, as well as a representative view or vantage point from each camera?
Correct, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask that that be marked K for identification.
It may.
Your Honor, this is K2, the larger version.
Deputy Montour.
Please.
K2.
Showing you what's been marked K for identification, do you see in the upper left corner the blueprint, if you will?
Correct.
In the upper left corner of K
Correct, sir.
is the blueprint. And there are 5 cameras highlighted in red, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
And those are the cameras that you placed yourself as part of CURE security system?
Correct, sir.
Objection to the leading.
I'll rephrase it. And do you see the numbers there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those numbers are the numbers that came from
From
where?
the DVR.
From the DVR.
Correct, sir.
So let's start, if we would, with camera number 5. And do you see where camera number 5 is?
Yes, sir.
And what direction, as you look at the diagram,
Correct.
which direction does camera 5 point? To the
Is-
left or to the right?
Is the direction to the left, towards the door.
Towards the door. Camera number 8. In which direction does camera number 8 face?
It's facing the sidewalk that goes to the street,
The sidewalk that goes to the street.
which is the front door.
And when you say the street, you're talking about where I've drawn the line?
Correct, sir.
What about camera 7?
Camera 7 is facing our line when people gather up to come into the place.
Okay. And does that camera, generally speaking, look up and down Tremont Street?
It only looks down, yeah, correct.
Or
down,
up,
sir.
up Tremont Street, or down in this diagram?
Correct, down, correct.
And what about camera number 10?
Camera 10 is a closer up, so we can see our security checking IDs from the outside.
From the outside. And lastly, camera number 13, where does that face?
It's facing up Tremont Street, or down Tremont Street.
In this diagram, is it pointing to the right?
To the right, correct. Towards the street and the sidewalk.
First one, sir.
You may.
Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir.
And those 5 photographs, in the order in which I handed them to you, would they represent cameras 5, 7, 8, 10, and 13 in numerical order?
Correct, sir.
Does each photograph fairly and accurately show the view of the camera, those cameras specifically 5, 7, 8, 10, and 13, as they were mounted and shot on July 16th of 2012?
Correct, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I'd offer those as the next numbered exhibits.
Without objection.
And let me just ask, Mr. Lee, are they marked by camera number?
They are on the chalk,
They are not.
not on this, but I can have Mr.
Let's just identify which is which.
Camera number 5, Your Honor, is exhibit number 45. Camera number 7 is exhibit number 46. Camera number 8 is exhibit number 47. Camera number 10 is exhibit number 48. Camera number 13 is exhibit number 49.
Thank you.
First witness again, Your Honor. Do you recognize that picture, Mr. Nabolsi?
Correct, sir, yes.
Okay, and what's that a picture of?
This is the corner view of Cure Lounge. Shows the front door of Cure Lounge.
Okay. And does that photograph fairly and accurately show the way the front of Cure looked on July 16th of 2012?
Correct.
Are there any differences?
Yes.
What differences are there?
Correct. Sorry. We had added an awning after that.
All right. Aside from the awning, is that a fair and accurate representation of the view of Club Cure in July of 2012?
Correct, sir.
So just to be clear, the awning that's in the picture was not there in 2012.
Correct, sir.
Your Honor, subject to that condition, the Commonwealth would ask that that be marked as the next exhibit.
Any objection?
Without objection.
Thank you.
Mr. Nabulsi, so we just went through the 5 cameras that are outside.
Correct.
You also called 3 other cameras, exterior cameras, but they
Correct,
were
sir.
literally actually indoors. Is that
Indoors,
correct?
correct.
And that included an ID scanner and two cameras in the lobby or entryway of
Correct,
the lounge. Is that
Lounge,
correct?
correct, sir.
Upstairs, not
At the
downstairs.
front door, yes, correct.
May I approach him?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Nabulsi, do you recognize those 5 pictures?
Correct, sir.
All right. Referring you to the first picture, that's a picture of what?
Of an ID scanner that we have at the front door.
Okay. And the ID scanner, could you explain to
Correct.
members of the jury how that works?
Correct. So every person that walks into our establishment, they are requested to show an ID at the front door and then proceed to the actual door to get in. So a security guy asks them to have the ID out. The ID gets scanned into our machine. It only takes a digital copy, and it goes to the DVR.
So one of the cameras is actually connected to that scanner,
To the scanner at
and
the
it
DVR.
literally photographs the identification?
Correct, sir.
All right. And that photograph that you have there, is that a fair and accurate representation of the vantage point of that camera without, there's an ID in it, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, without
Correct.
regard to who's in that ID?
Correct.
That is a fair and accurate representation
sir.
of the image of the identification?
Of the image of the ID is correct.
Referring you to the second photograph,
Correct.
what's shown in that second photograph?
This, as soon as somebody walks in, our security guy is on the right-hand side, and he scans the ID, and he
Okay.
gives it back to the person.
And is that a still image of one of the cameras in the lobby?
In the lobby, correct.
And the vantage point or the viewpoint of that camera in the lobby is from where to where?
Is as soon as you walk inside the door, it's right there on top of the cashier booth.
And it shows the door
And it shows the door, and it shows the whole entire area
from the inside?
from the inside.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the location of the camera as well as its vantage point
Correct, sir.
as of July 2012?
Correct, sir.
Going to ask you to look at the third photograph.
Correct.
And what's shown in that photograph?
This is the corner inside the lobby that points towards the cashier and our person collecting the tickets to go down the stairs to the Cure Lounge.
So that's a camera that's pointed actually at the cashier
At the cashier,
from inside that same lobby
from
area.
the inside.
And does that photograph or still image fairly and accurately show the location and the vantage point of that camera?
Correct, sir.
Referring you to the fourth image, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And that fourth image is what?
Is the camera that as soon as you walk into the door, it will capture you walking into the door.
So that's actually a picture of the camera
Of the
itself.
camera itself.
All right, and that's the camera that has the view of the front door from the inside out?
From the inside.
Okay, so it's a
Inside
photograph of the
towards-
camera
Of the camera
that has that view?
on top of the cashier.
All right, and is that a fair and accurate representation of the location of the camera as it was in July of 2012?
Correct, sir.
All right, and now I'm going to ask you to to look at the fifth picture.
Correct.
And do you recognize what's shown in that picture?
Yes.
What's shown in that picture?
This is the other camera itself that is mounted in the corner, showing the cashier booth and when you go down the stairs.
All right. That's the camera that has the footage showing the cashier booth?
Correct, sir.
And the fifth picture is the actual picture of that camera?
Of the camera itself.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of where that camera was mounted in July of 2012?
Correct, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I'd offer those as the next 5 numbered exhibits.
Without objection.
Thank you. 51 through 55?
Yes, Your Honor. Showing you that 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, do you recognize that?
Correct, sir.
All right. And do you recognize that as a diagram that has a footprint of the club along with the cameras that we just talked about and admitted photographs of, exhibits 51 through 55?
Correct, sir.
All right. And the diagram of the club, does it show the locations of the cameras as you mounted them in 2010 and as they existed in 2012?
Correct, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask that that be marked L for identification,
It may.
as well as the larger version.
No objection.
L1 and L2.
So showing you L for identification and referring you to the photograph that's in the lower left corner, the same photograph that's been admitted as exhibit number 51, that's the ID scanner.
Correct, sir.
And that's the image that would pop up if you were to look for it in your security
Correct, sir.
system. Referring you to the middle photograph on the bottom row, camera number 2, which has been admitted as exhibit number 52.
Correct.
That's a camera that you described showing the front door from the inside out.
Correct, sir.
And that front door is right when you walk in
Yes,
secure,
sir.
is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And camera number 3, which has been admitted as exhibit number 53, shows the cashier's booth, which is directly in the middle of that photograph.
Correct, sir.
Objection to the leading again, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Lee, please don't.
Yes, Your Honor. That camera shows what perspective in the lobby?
It's the cashier booth. It's mounted inside the lobby in the corner, viewing the person paying and going downstairs.
And referring you now to the top row of cameras, do you see the on the top row the photograph that's on the left?
Correct. Is it?
I just want to zoom in on it because it's somewhat obscured. What does that show?
Is this camera too? As soon as you walk into the door, it's the actual camera mounted.
Okay. And referring you to the photograph to the right of that?
Camera 3 is also inside the lobby, and it's mounted in the corner, and it's the camera that we just talked about earlier.
Okay. Now, those three cameras, camera 1, 2, and 3, were those among the cameras or the footage that you were asked to back up on Tuesday, July 17th?
Correct.
Okay, and that was at Mr. Hashem's request?
Correct.
I'm referring you now to K for identification. Referring you to the photograph at the very top that's been designated as camera number 5
Correct.
and has been admitted as exhibit number 45.
Correct.
Is that one of the cameras that you were asked to back up?
Correct, sir.
And that shows what view?
It shows the front door and the sidewalk and leading towards the front door of Cure.
Okay. And does that photograph, is that a vantage point looking away from Tremont Street or towards Tremont Street?
Away from Tremont Street.
And referring you to the first photograph in the second row, camera number 7, that's been admitted as exhibit number 46.
Correct.
Was that one of the cameras you were asked to back up?
Correct, sir.
And what does that camera show, camera number 7?
This shows when people come to our sidewalk, they will line up to get their ID checked so they can proceed to the front door.
And what's the street that's shown predominantly in the left side of that photograph?
It's Tremont Street, sir.
Referring you to the next photograph in that row on the right, camera number 8,
Correct.
photograph of which has been admitted as exhibit number 47. What does that show?
So this is a camera that is mounted away from the street, looks towards our where people start lining up to get into the place.
And referring you to the first photograph on the bottom row, camera number 10, it's been admitted as exhibit number 48. It's fair to say that that's a closer version of camera
It's a
number
closer
8.
version, yes, to camera 8.
And lastly, camera number 13, which is the second photograph on the bottom row and has been admitted as exhibit number 49. What's the vantage point there?
This is the sidewalk of Tremont Street and Tremont Seats itself.
Those cameras that we just talked about, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 13, you created, did you use your practice of putting that onto the desktop?
Correct.
And what did you do with those files when you put them on the desktop?
So after putting them all on the desktop, I got a USB disk and I plugged it into the desktop, and I imported or I copied everything that's on the desktop onto the USB.
All right. And were you given a date and a specific time frame?
Correct, sir.
Approach the witness again, Harold.
You may.
You recognize what I've just handed to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what is that?
This is the USB that I plugged into the desktop, so I can import all of the clips onto the USB.
And you've had a chance to look at the contents of that
Correct, sir.
USB drive?
Correct, sir.
And does it contain all the cameras that we just discussed?
Correct, sir.
And that, again, those files were put on by you?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd offer that as the next member exhibit.
Without objection.
Exhibit 56.
Now, once you made that thumb drive, what did you do with it?
I put it in an envelope and I wrote on it Miller USB.
Okay. And what did you do with the envelope?
I left it in the office.
All right. Who's Miller, or what's Miller?
Correct. Miller Thomas is our general manager. He is the manager of record. He's the person that handles our Boston police if they need any requests.
And you put the exhibit number 56 into an envelope, and where did you leave it again?
I left it on the desk for him to pick up the next morning.
For Mr. Thomas to pick up the next morning. That would be Wednesday, the 18th.
Correct, sir.
Showing you that photograph, do you recognize that?
Yes,
Or that piece of paper?
correct.
And what is that? What does that show?
This is a photocopy of the envelope that I have used in-house to put the USB in for him to pick it up the next day.
All right. And do you recognize, first of all, is there any writing on it?
Yes, it has my handwriting, which is Miller USB. The red handwriting is not mine.
Okay, when you say red handwriting, there's some handwriting in red ink?
Correct, sorry. It says Cure Video USB.
It's in here to the hearsay.
Overruled.
What does it say?
It says Cure Video.
Jerry's already heard it. Put a question to the witness.
You do not recognize the
I
handwriting
do
on
not
there?
recognize the red ink.
Your handwriting is in what color?
Is the blue ink, sir.
And it says Miller USB?
Correct, sir.
That's the envelope you put the thumb drive in?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd offer that as the next exhibit.
The envelope?
No,
Yes.
the copy of the envelope.
I'm sorry? Any objection, counsel?
No objection to what the witness has, a copy.
What do you have? All right. Without objection, that's received.
Now, Mr. Nabulsi, at some point were you made aware that a DVD disc was also created in connection with the request by the Boston Police Department?
Objection calls for hearsay.
I'll see you at sidebar.